At this time, let's hear about our presenter.
Dr. John Clark is a medical missionary doctor based in the United States of America. He completed his orthopedic surgery specialization at the Loma Linda University School of Medicine, practicing in the medical system for many years. In 2006, he left his hospital practice and embarked on a mission to help people cooperate with God in the recovery of their health. He is the founder and president of Northern Lights Heath Education Ministry, and along with his wife Julie and son Connor, lectures full-time on a wide variety of lifestyle-related diseases and conditions. Dr. John Clark is the author of many medical articles and the book Blueprint for Health and Healing, Reversing Disease from Its Foundation. His motto is taken from the statement in Ministry of Healing, page 127. The only hope of better things is in the education of the people in right principles. Influenced by generations of medical missionary doctors within his family who worked in various mission fields around the world, Dr. John Clark is determined to help sick people reverse diseases. Currently, he travels locally and internationally with his family to present these health lectures.
Thank you. And that's Dr. Clark. I must say this before he speaks. So Dr. Clark has been putting a lot of work into his presentations. And we were speaking this morning, and he told me it's many months, like 6 months, 6 to 9 months, I think, work that is put into his presentation. So I trust that we have a deeper appreciation for what we are receiving for free, and understand that what his family is doing is to enhance our an appreciation rather for the great health that God has given to us, even though sin has been plaguing us, and that is if we obey his command. So Dr. Clark, over to you.
Well,
And
thank you.
there you
Let's see now. I think I need to open up my, where's, okay. All right, our topic this morning is the cholesterol story. Are you fighting heart disease? Now, just to recap on our past experience here, a couple of weeks ago, we did a talk on oil, the ultra-processed food, and we covered all the dangers that are associated with this highly refined product. Then last week we talked about the first place oil stops off in your digestion, which is your liver, and the effects on the liver of fatty liver disease, and how fatty liver disease is one of the rising health concerns that's catching up with some of the others that are a problem to us, like diabetes and heart disease and cancer. And now, today, we're talking about the cholesterol story. You see, your liver is the processing plant or the manufacturing plant for all the cholesterol in your body. So this is the next step. So oil, liver, and now cholesterol. Well, I had a gentleman approach me. He says, Dr. Clark, why me? Why'd I have a heart attack when I had a cholesterol of 140? He went on to tell me that his doctors had told him that they were somewhat jealous of him because their own cholesterols were high, and if that went up high, they had to take drugs to lower them. Yet this gentleman had low cholesterol, and he wasn't taking any drugs. But now, despite the fact he felt very assured and safe with a cholesterol of 140, he was in the hospital having had a heart attack, and they were offering him a surgery on his heart, a bypass surgery. He's confused, he's frustrated, he felt safe, and yet he wasn't. How could it be that he could have a heart attack at a low cholesterol that everybody else was wanting to have? This really had him perturbed, upset. worried, and with big questions. Why me? Well, stay tuned. We're going to talk about important lifestyle information and the answers to why this happened. You'll want to know why he had his heart attack and what he could have done to have prevented it. Obviously, more than just looking at cholesterol numbers. Now, what is cholesterol? Well, cholesterol is this fancy molecule. Look at this picture. This is from somebody's, science textbook, their chemistry, biochemistry book. Well, it's a complicated molecule for sure. It's really a fatty substance, which we call lipid. Fat is lipid. And it is essential for good health. I mean, you need some for your brain, your nerves, your skin, your adrenal glands, for example. All the hormones in your body are based on it. And it helps make cell membranes soft, supple, and resilient. It's the building block for vitamin D. And it's there for your digestion. It's part of the bile acids that help you absorb fats in your small intestine. Now, you may have heard that it comes in different quantities and different types and different designations. There's LDL and HDL and total cholesterol, just to name a few. The LDL is like a delivery truck. Once your liver has either taken in cholesterol from your diet, which isn't the best source, or made it itself, which is the best source, it has to let it go and be delivered to places in your body where it can be for hormones and cell walls and digestion and other things like that. And so the delivery truck is LDL, low density lipoprotein. It's a molecule or a micelle, it's not alive, that carries this cholesterol out to the body. The body uses it, the body puts it into service, the body makes it do what it's supposed to do, and then in time, the LDL or the cholesterol becomes oxidized, old, metabolized, degenerate, becomes a free radical, whatever. It's no longer fresh anymore. And that cholesterol needs to return to the liver for reprocessing and either expulsion from the body or made back into good cholesterol, sort of depending on your diet, which we're going to get to. And the recycle trucks, the garbage collectors, the sanitation engineers in your body that bring the cholesterol back to the liver is HDL, cholesterol, high density lipoprotein. Those are the cleanup micelles, if you please. These are what you need to stay healthy. And if you have lots of delivery trucks going out, you better have lots of recovery trucks coming back. This is important. Do you remember in New York City when they had the strike of the trash truck drivers, the sanitation engineers, and trash was piling up, dumpsters were overflowing, people were wondering what to do with their trash. It was a big problem. The problem was we had lots of delivery trucks still running, UPS, the post office, FedEx, grocery stores and outlets and so forth. People were still taking on product, but they had no place to get rid of stuff that needed recycled, stuff that needed disposed of. And so the trash is piling. One family figured out what to do. They took their trash, put it in a box, a big box, and then they wrapped the box in pretty party paper, paper that would attract attention. And then when Dad went to work, he would put the box of trash, wrapped in pretty wrapping paper, in the back seat of the car and left the windows down in the back. Every day, somebody came along and stole his box, hoping to have a fancy present, and discovered that they had just acquired more trash. How's that for poetic justice? Well, All to illustrate that we need lots of trash trucks running if we have lots of delivery trucks. And that's why we talk about the ratio between LDL and HDL. And we want a ratio that favors more HDL. I mean, HDL is already less than LDL because the trash trucks don't have to be as big as the delivery trucks because there's use of the product. But all in all, we talk about the ratio. And if the ratio's off, we're troubled because if you're delivering a lot and you're not picking up a lot, the trash is going to accumulate. Across the bottom of my screen there, I show you that we have total cholesterol. Total cholesterol is, in most community laboratories at hospitals, a mathematical equation where they add up the HDL, the LDL, and 1/3 of the triglycerides, another fatty substance that's in your blood that contributes to the same things cholesterol does. Well, obviously it does because total cholesterol is part triglycerides. So there you go. Now, cholesterol is like the sunshine. You need a little bit of it, but not too much. So you want to be aware of high cholesterol. I mean, what are the consequences of high cholesterol? Everybody's probably going to raise their hand and say, well, it could affect your heart. And that is true. A cholesterol over 140 gets bad, but 240 is going to definitely make it so that your risk of heart attack goes up dramatically, like 250%. So high cholesterol is a problem, despite what some of the cholesterol promoting groups have been saying. I just had to throw that in because somebody's going to raise their hand and say, well, I heard the Weston Price Foundation said you need some cholesterol, and if you don't have it, and it's good to have high cholesterol. And nope, not so. For every 2 points that your cholesterol can be dropped, your risk of heart attack goes down by 1%. So this kind of comes from some of our original data that showed as your cholesterol went over 150, your risk of a heart attack and dying of a heart attack, not just having a heart attack, went up precipitously. But just to hark back to my opening story that we will be finishing here, the gentleman with a cholesterol of 140 felt he was safe. Yeah, see, the line would have gone down, way down for 140, yet he had a heart attack. So I'm going to get back to why that is, because you'll want to know, because it's a bit of a surprise. It's a bit concerning for those who are doing things that really we've covered in the last two talks about why your cholesterol goes up. Let's see, did we talk about oil? Yeah, we talked about oil. Now, heart aside, anything that affects your heart seems to affect your eyes. And what affects your eyes? Well, macular degeneration. Yes, a high cholesterol raises your risk of macular degeneration. That's where you can't see, right in the middle where you want to see. Yeah, you lose central vision. And the other thing that high cholesterol will do is it'll affect your brain. Not only can you not think well, but it'll make it so that you're more likely to have a headache, especially a migraine headache. It's also going to raise your blood pressure. You see, your blood needs to be thin. It needs to be supple. It needs to flow through the blood vessels smoothly. You get a high cholesterol, your blood gets thick. It gets hard to pump. It makes it so it's hard. Well, it lowers your oxygen carrying capacity of your blood as well. And so you need to pump more of that blood around. Up goes your blood pressure. It also increases the likelihood of impotence. And it decreases mental performance. Yeah. Well, but, you mean the reason I can't think so well is because I have high cholesterol? Yeah. It increases Alzheimer's. What does anybody here remember what Alzheimer's was? Oh, yeah. A disease where we forget. Well, let's just see how this works physiologically. Here's the oxygen on your brain. Up the side there, on the left-hand side of the screen, we have oxygen on the brain, and I just started at about 65%, going up to 100%. You would like the oxygen on your brain to be somewhere around 95%. That helps you think better, helps you contemplate things better, helps you process things better, helps you study your Bible better. But if we eat a meal high in fat, such as we've talked about in the last two talks, then something happens to the oxygen on the brain. In fact, within 6 hours, the oxygen on the brain falls below 70%. What's more, it's not going to get back up to normal for a long time. Maybe as much as 3 days. That's 3 days without your brain. Do you remember those days? Likely not. Goes into a fog. What did I eat for lunch 2 days ago? Can't remember. Then, well, okay, that means the oxygen on your brain might be low because you had a high-fat meal a couple days ago, but maybe today you have another high-fat meal. That's back to the doldrums again. Another day, a high-fat meal. Every day, a high-fat meal. Whoa, okay. What's the moral of this story? Some people have never had a fully functioning brain. Now, don't go nudging your spouse or thinking of all the political leaders we have these days. It's true, but it's for you to contemplate whether or not your diet is doing that to your brain. See, part of our health message is so we'll have functioning brains. I mean, the more of this fat you have in your diet, the higher your cholesterol goes, the more you're going to be depressed, your brain's not going to function well. It's going to make it so that, well, it's really going to make it so that you're going to have a better rescue when you change your lifestyle. That's right. A bad health picture is an opportunity for big change and improvement. And lifestyle choices are the best. You know, we're talking diet, like the 8 natural doctors. You heard of the 8 natural doctors? New Start, nutrition, exercise, water, temperance, sunlight, air, rest, trust in divine power. Yeah, there you go. So we want to have good cholesterol, because if your cholesterol is high, you're going to have troubles. So what are the alternatives? What shall I do to lower my cholesterol? Well, there's pills. Oh, what's this say? Forget eating healthy. Just give statins with Happy Meals. Seriously. Well, what's that mean? You go to your McDonald's and you get a pill along with your Happy Meal. Yeah, well, does it really work? It does lower cholesterol, that's for sure, about 28%. And is that really good? Well, these pills have complications. They have side effects, one of which is muscle pains called rhabdomyolysis, meaning your muscles fall apart. It can be toxic to your liver. Wait a minute, I was taking this to lower my cholesterol so I wouldn't get fatty liver. These pills are toxic to your liver. And they too affect your thinking. So even though your thinking was messed up by high cholesterol, taking this pill may not help that whatsoever. It just gives a different cause why you have these problems. The other thing it does is it suppresses your immune system. In fact, it suppresses your immune system so much you can substitute a cholesterol pill for a immunosuppressive pill, and it works just as good for transplanting organs. But when you transplant organs, one of your risks is that you have a higher risk of cancer. That's right. When you have your immune system suppressed by pills for your organ transplant, you will have a higher risk of cancer. And so really in these studies, you may lower your risk of heart disease. That's up for debate, but you may lower your risk of heart disease, but you have an equal raise in risk of dying of cancer. I mean, which would you rather die of, a sudden heart attack or lingering cancer? And you just took that exchange. You see, we're told. Aren't we told? Yeah, Minister of Health. Aren't we told that if you take a pill, it'll just change the disease into some other form? So instead of heart disease, you get cancer. Is that a good exchange? Well, at least we solved the heart disease problem. Yeah, right. And there's other complications. You ever heard of ALS? Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease, a bit like MS. You just lose control of your body. Pretty soon, all you can do is talk with all the expensive devices that they give you, and yeah, you mean I took a statin drug to lower my cholesterol, and my risk of ALS went up by 10 to 100 fold, not percent, fold? Yeah. Is that a good exchange? Okay. So much for the bartering system. That's where you're headed with the pills. So what I want to talk to you about today is your choices, yeah? Alternatives you have for achieving a healthy cholesterol naturally. Naturally, yeah. So let's get back to the bottom. Let's go to the bottom of this thing. Why? Why do people have high cholesterols? Well, I've sort of been hinting at it, haven't I, the last two talks. And here's a lady. You notice my pictures try to illustrate what I'm going to talk about. And here I'm talking about high cholesterol, and I have a lady in the kitchen washing dishes. What's the point? Well, let's suppose this lady got dishes from the table, and somebody didn't eat their butter that they had taken off the serving plate. It's still sitting on their plate, a pad of square butter on the corner of the plate, and she decides, rather than taking a knife and flipping the butter off into the trash, she decides to try to wash it off carefully, subtly, with warm water and soap. Because guess what? Remember we said that cholesterol is for your brain, it's for your nerves, it's for your hormones, and it's for digestion of foods. Cholesterol, as a part of your bile acids, is the major source of soap for emulsifying dietary fat. When you eat something fat, it takes cholesterol to emulsify it. You see, your blood is based on water, 70% water. What happens when you try to mix water and fat? Well, the fat goes to the top of the water. Well, where would that be in your body? That'd be up to your brain. You don't want your brain filled with fat that you just ate. You got to emulsify it. And so you need soap. What's the soap? Cholesterol. And so the cholesterol soap is there to emulsify the fats. And so if you eat lots of saturated fat, that's that butter, it's going to take lots of cholesterol. I mean, how much soap would it take in hot water to just melt away a pat of butter off your plate? Lots of soap, lots of hot water. Well, that's saturated fat. And other fats would be trans fats. These would be fats that are twisted. Well, where do they come from? Well, this is like margarine, shortening. Anytime you cook anything that's high in fat with a lot of heat, you make trans fat. And then there's refined fats. That's what we talked about the first time, didn't we? Bottled oils. That's a source of needing cholesterol to emulsify it. And then there's the high fat diet. Here's the way it works in your body. Here's a gentleman looking down at his esophagus and his stomach and his liver. And when he eats a high fat meal, when it gets to the stomach analyzes it and says, oh, what is this? It's high fat. And it tells the liver, look, guys, this is a high fat meal. You're going to have to make a lot of soap. And so the liver makes a bunch of soap and puts the soap into the small intestine through the bile duct. And if there's extra soap, it gets stored in your soap container. What's your soap container? The gallbladder. And if that soap contained cholesterol that was oxidized, like from animals, then you make gallstones. Did you just tell us how gallstones get made? I just told you how gallstones get made. What did I say was the cause? Dietary cholesterol. Oh, dietary cholesterol. At least that's one of the, yeah, that's the biggest one. Okay. Now, so the cholesterol got put into the small intestine to emulsify the big fat meal that this guy ate. And so it goes down through the small intestine, somewhere along the small intestine. Then the cholesterol soap, along with the fat, gets absorbed into the portal blood system. This is the blood vessels that go straight from the liver up to straight from the intestines up to the liver, especially the small intestine. And these mixtures of soap and fat end up in the liver through the bloodstream. Did I say bloodstream? Let's see. Aren't we worried about the high cholesterol in our bloodstream? Yes, blood cholesterol. How did the cholesterol get high in my bloodstream? Because I ate a lot of fat that needed a lot of soap. We call it the enterohepatic circulation. It goes back to the liver. It goes round and round. The soap cycle, I call it. How's that for simple? You have a soap cycle. Liver soap emulsifies intestinal fat, makes it so you can absorb fat into the bloodstream. It goes back to the liver to get processed, some of which will go out as LDL and come back as HDL. And yeah, that's the way it works. So for each 1% more fat you include in your diet, your cholesterol goes up 1.5 points. For each 40 grams of butter you eat, a serving of butter, your cholesterol goes up 20 points. for a diet high in saturated fat, you can expect your cholesterol to go up 23%. So if it's already 200, that's 46 points higher. Oh, did you know God talks about fat? Yeah, God talks about fat. The children of Israel went through the experience in Egypt. They didn't get much education down there. And so when they came out, God had to give them an education. He said, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, ye shall eat no manner of fat. Back then it was ox or sheep or goat. Today it would be butter, margarine, Vegenaise, Crisco, all these. And even, as we discussed in our talk 2 weeks ago, Kellogg put in this category, bottled fats. Yeah, it'd be God saying, look out for the fat. Look out for the fat. Now, let's get back onto this trans fat problem, because trans fat is a big issue. Trans fat consumption definitely raises your cholesterol. And trans fat increases heart attacks. When people die of their heart attack, we check what their bodies were contained, what they had in their bodies. Remember on the first talk we said you could test your red blood cell membranes and see what kind of fat the person's been eating for the last couple months? Yeah. Well, or if we check the fat in your body from your fat storage, we could tell what kind of fat you've been eating over the last 2 years. Yeah. So the trans fat in these heart attack victims was much higher than people who didn't have heart attacks. Ooh. Yeah, and where do we get our trans fat? Cakes, cookies, crackers, pies, bread, animal products, margarine, fried potatoes, chips, potato chips, corn chips, popcorn, especially, it's got loaded with fat. You can make your popcorn. It doesn't have any of that fat. Household shortening. Yeah, so these things definitely were a problem. Trans fat. Usually, yeah, looking like that at room temperature. Okay, so let's talk about fats that are liquid at room temperature. Olive oil, monounsaturated, tends to lower cholesterol. Why is that? Because it's easier to emulsify liquid fat than solid fat. If this lady that was doing her dishes had a few drops of liquid fat on the plate, the hot water would move a lot of it, and the soap would get rid of the rest. And it wouldn't take near as much soap to remove the fat from the dishes. By the same token, in your intestines, liquid fats are easier to emulsify, both monounsaturated and polyunsaturated. Now, polyunsaturated are more likely to go rancid or go bad. But here's a caveat. If you were not used to using any oil in your diet, as maybe that should be the case, then if you added monounsaturated or polyunsaturated fats in the hopes that it would lower your cholesterol, because somebody said that would lower your cholesterol because they figure you're a meat eater or a saturated fat eater, including coconut oil saturated fat, which we talked about in our previous talks, then your cholesterol would go up. Yeah, if you add fat for no good reason other than you want to add fat, especially even these, and you think that'll lower your cholesterol, no, that'll raise your cholesterol, because these are things that need soap. They need cholesterol soap to process them. And so you just made your cholesterol go up because you ate these refined products, not what's in the bowl there. I mean, if you eat your olives natural, like Lindsay green ripe olives, that's good. Now yeah, okay. Now, weighing in on cholesterol, the more you've been eating fat, the heavier you weigh, more likely you have a fatty liver, the higher goes your risk of high cholesterol. So if you're obese, your risk of a high cholesterol goes up 540%. That's massive. That's a lot. Okay. On the other hand, restricting your diet, caloric restriction, eating fewer calories, which is really fat's going to be the #1 source of calories, at least high calorie food. Then caloric restriction by 25%, and we are told that we often eat twice what we need to. So caloric restriction by 25% and exercise have been shown to lower LDL by 16 points and triglycerides by 30 points. That's great. Yeah, that's real good. We're headed the right direction with that. Just eating less food. How do you eat fewer calories? What's the lady fixing to put in her mouth? Ah, good green salad. That's not got a lot of fat unless you loaded it up with vinegar and oil dressing, both of which will cause liver damage. Okay, so go low fat. What would happen to you if you went low fat? Throw out the oil, the margarine, throw out the animal fat, the butter, drop a few excess pounds off that body weight. Well, we're headed toward a better cholesterol. And speaking of meat, you know, if you're eating lots of meat, both for the fact that it has fat and it has cholesterol and it's animal protein, it will make your cholesterol go up. Weekly meat consumption, cholesterol of 205, which is a lot higher than 140. But then daily meat consumption boosts it another 50 points. And so, yeah, meat consumption. Any source of animal protein will raise your cholesterol. Milk will raise your cholesterol. Oh, but I was eating this casein protein drink for my muscle building at the 24-hour fitness. People who use dairy daily see their cholesterols go up. 7 points for total cholesterol, 5 points for LDL. Yeah, so you don't want that, Tim. What about if I switch to white meat? The white meat, like chicken and fish instead of beef and pork and lamb. Well, it doesn't really help. Why? Because they still contain lots of animal protein, and the ratio between their different saturated and fats and cholesterol and so forth is still a part of the problem. And your cholesterol lowering effect of switching to any other animal protein product is not going to be that helpful. And it has to do with the mix of amino acids in the protein. Because if you switch to soy protein from animal protein, you'll see your LDL go down, your triglycerides go down, your total cholesterol go down, and your HDL will come up. You see, animal protein and vegetable protein are not the same thing. I wanted to say not the same animal, but there's no animal with the soybean here. You say, well, but you don't have to use soy protein. You can use black beans. You can use other beans. You can use, broccoli has good protein. And I mean, where would your cholesterol numbers go if you replaced animal protein with vegetable protein? You're kidding me. Broccoli has protein? Broccoli is 20 to 22% protein. That's more than beans. That's more than soy. I mean, this is, yeah. So you don't have to worry about getting your protein. And when you eat broccoli, your cholesterol comes down. When you eat beef, it goes up. Well, there you go. Now, let's start angling in on our case that we started this study with, okay? Let's start angling in. I can tell you another story about my uncle. My uncle passed away. Yep, died of a heart attack at age 39. That's too young. What was he doing? He was an anesthesiologist. He was a university anesthesiologist. He was a teaching anesthesiologist at the University of Texas down near Houston. Wow. Right at the beginning of his career, he died. Yep. Of what? A heart attack? Yep. Wow. And what happened to his family? Well, he left behind a wife and 2 teenage sons. Disaster, disaster, disaster. Yes, disaster. Oh, disaster. They blame God. They went out of the church. I mean, this is a disaster, disaster. Well, what do you suppose his nightly supper was? What do you think he ate for supper every night? Well, and I'm asking that because you can be sure that I'm thinking that this is a big cause of why he died of a heart attack. Okay, so what do you think he ate every night, pretty much, according to the family, for his supper? Somebody's saying he had a hamburger. Well, no, he was not eating hamburgers. Hey, somebody else raised their hand. He had chicken. Well, that would do it too. That would, but that isn't what he was eating. Well, what was he eating every night for his supper? How about peanut butter and fried eggs? Yeah, that would do it. But no. Well, what was his supper? He was eating ice cream. Oh yes, ice cream. But wait a minute. Ice cream? Oh, let me tell you. When they make ice cream, they freeze it suddenly. But when they freeze it suddenly, they've whipped it full of air. What kind of air? Well, air from the atmosphere, oxygenated air, the air that you want to breathe. And then this oxygen in the air is then mixed with the cholesterol in the ice cream. Ice cream's made up of eggs and cream and milk and, yeah, and sugar. Whoa. When we put sugar with milk, your cholesterol goes up for much higher and longer time when you mix, yeah. Have we been told that we shouldn't mix sugar and milk products? Yeah, we've been told that. Okay, so he ate ice cream, and the oxygen in the ice cream oxidizes the cholesterol in the milk and the eggs and the cream and so forth. And so he ended up with oxidized cholesterol coming through his blood vessels. And in laboratory animals, within 24 hours of eating oxidized cholesterol, such as found in ice cream, they developed lesions in their blood vessels like those that would lead to plaque and heart attacks in human beings. You want plaque in your blood vessels? You want it within 24 hours? Start eating ice cream. There you go. But there's other things. You know, ice cream is a custard mix. Any custard mix, especially where you have oxygen whipped into it. You know, egg custards for tops of pies. This is like whipped cream. This is like all these different things where they mix sugar with with products that have cholesterol. Pancake mixes where they dry the eggs and put it in the mix, and all you have to do is add water. And the whole time that product sits on the shelf, the eggs are oxidizing in the air contained within that plastic bag. And pancake mixes have been identified as big causes of heart attacks. Cheese, is it fresh? No. Is it high in fat and cholesterol? Yes. And so cheese, I mean, it's very atherogenic. It contains high levels of oxidized cholesterol. Have we been told that cheese is not food? Yeah, we've been told that. Do we believe it? Well, let's look at a picture of it under a microscope. What do we see here? Well, we see that there's bacteria that made the cheese out of my milk product. Which is what's a higher quantity in this picture? Bacteria or yellowed milk product? Oranged milk. The milk product is turned orange. But the milk was white. What happened? What happens when you drink white milk? What color does it come out when you pee? Yellow. What color does it turn to when the bacteria ate it? Yellow. So what am I eating in cheese? Dead bacteria and their waste products, along with whatever's left of the rotting milk. Yes. So this is not a pretty picture. And you ate that stuff and you got your heart attack and you're wondering, why me? Why me? Well, let's get back to our guy that we started our study with. I followed him around. Yes, he had me going. Yes, he was baiting me. Yes, he had me worried. Why do you have a heart attack and you had a low cholesterol? Oh, you're one of those outliers that destroys the whole paradigm. No, he isn't. What was he eating? He was eating what we see him eating here in the picture. Oh boy, you need a heart attack? Eat that stuff. What's that? A slice of pizza? Cheese pizza. He's eating his cheese pizza. Yes, he liked pizza parties. Yes, he liked ice cream. He liked ice cream and pizza parties. And he ate those. Now, let's get back to our cholesterol 140. When you go to the laboratory, when you go to the hospital and get your blood taken, when they check for cholesterol, they give you a quantitative number. How much? Not how clean, not how pretty, not how perfect. This is like in your car. When you drive your car, maybe you have a needle that tells you how high the oil pressure is. And as long as the oil pressure is up in the green zone, you're happy. It's great. It's good. But if it is in the green zone, as it should be, on the oil pressure needle on the dash of your car, does that tell you anything about the color of the oil, how long it's been since you had an oil change, and whether or not you should get that oil change because its ability to lubricate the engine has reached failure point? No. No, it only tells you the oil pressure. And this is true of the numbers you get from the laboratory. They don't tell you if the cholesterol is brown. See, if I want to know what the oil's like in my car, I got to lift the hood, pull the dipstick out, look at the dipstick and say, oh, it's getting brown. If I'm not real good at keeping track of the mileage, that would be an indication, right? Otherwise, I got to change it every so many miles. All right, so if I want to pull the dipstick on my heart and find out what my cholesterol looks like, it won't be through the average run-of-the-mill cholesterol test done by your doctor at the hospital. All it tells you is you have a 140, but if we took this guy's blood and looked at it and looked at the cholesterol, pulled out the dipstick, it would be brown, oxidized. It's all that cheese and ice cream. And yes, he had a heart attack, not because his cholesterol was high, but because it was oxidized. Oh yes, oxidized, brown. Oh yes, brown, badly browned. And we don't want brown cholesterol. So anytime you eat any animal products which have cholesterol, it's very hard to get that cholesterol in that animal product into your body without it coming in contact with air. I mean, you have all these things you fry on the griddle. Oh, oxidized cholesterol. Pancake mix, as we mentioned. Anytime you're using it, but trying to get cholesterol in your diet, it's bad news. What happened to people after the flood when they started eating cholesterol? Woohoo! Their lifespan dropped by 90%. Not good. And where does cholesterol come from? Does it come from fruit? No. Does an avocado have cholesterol? No. Does an almond have cholesterol? No. Does high-fat vegetables have cholesterol? No. No. Oh, no cholesterol in a banana? Nope. But there's cholesterol in milk, there's cholesterol in ice cream, butter, tuna, clams, crab, chicken breast, pork, beef, oysters. Notice the numbers are going up. Shrimp, egg. Oh boy. Beef. Yeah, especially the liver. Oh, why the liver? Because that's the processing plant. And beef brains. Beef brains. Why'd you put that? Who would eat a beef? That's disgusting. Why would anybody eat a beef brain? We had a friend who was a night watchman at a beef slaughter plant in Wichita, Kansas. One day he's walking through the plant and they're hanging up intestines in a truck. And he says, where do you take the intestines? I said, oh, those go to Hardee's fast food restaurant. They make them into food for people to eat. Ooh. And he's walking around and he sees beef, the heads of the cows, brains and all, going in a machine. Big bunch of noise, bunch of grinding. Out the other end of the machine came a green blob. This product coming out the other end. He says, wow, that's the whole cow head, huh? Yep. Where's that go? Well, with a little more processing, we'll make that into animal shortening. Woohoo! Animal shortening. Okay. All that cholesterol from those beef brains going into your, animal shortening you use to fry things with. Oh boy. Yeah, scary. All right, let's move on. That's not a good thought. Okay, how does eating cholesterol raise my cholesterol so much? Well, dietary cholesterol, even though it isn't a large part of your fat intake, is a signal molecule. The oxidized cholesterol from animal sources tells the liver, you better dilute this out with some good cholesterol. And so the liver starts making lots and lots of good cholesterol to dilute out the oxidized cholesterol. So whereas if you did the actual numbers, I ate 5 milligrams of cholesterol today with my whatever, and your cholesterol goes up 10 points. How can that be? Because it took 10 points of cholesterol to dilute out the oxidized cholesterol in that product that you ate. Okay, so dietary cholesterol. Notice here. that across the bottom, we have your total cholesterol. Up the side, we have how many milligrams of cholesterol you took in. I'm sorry, it's the other way around. How much cholesterol you took in across the bottom and how much your cholesterol went up on the side. These would be in Canadian numbers. But the numbers go up and up as you eat more cholesterol, more than would be expected from the amount of cholesterol you ate. So you want to make oxidized cholesterol? Just put those beef patties out there on that grill in your backyard, turn on the heat, you get to expose it to air and sunshine and right. And the more heat you apply, the more light you apply, the more radiation like microwaving, the more oxygen you have in the environment, the more moisture, the lower the pH, that's acid. The more oxidizing agents that are in there, like, you know, whatever it is, chemicals, like your pesticides, the more your cholesterol is going to oxidize, the more your food is going to have, the longer it stayed stored at room temperature. And so there's a lot of products in the supermarket that that are oxidizing on the shelves as you leave the fresh fruit and vegetable section and you go to all those boxes and cans and bottles and the rest of the supermarket. And if any of them have cholesterol in them and they weren't just processed today, or even if they were processed today, they're going to be oxidized cholesterol. Now, interestingly enough, Weimar found out an interesting problem. They have their New Start program. They take patients in there with heart disease. They put them on a program to lower the heart disease. And they discovered one group of people, my doctor friend that worked there, discovered this one group of people. They sent them all home, and they came back with heart disease after. And they said, we've been on the program. We've been doing the program. We're following the program, but we're having symptoms again. And so they said, okay, let's figure this out. What? And they looked over all their diet and and they said, well, it looks good. And they said, well, let's do a very close dietary survey. Let's go day by day. What'd you have for breakfast? What'd you have for your lunch? What'd you have? And they discovered that the people, two things was going on. One, the people were eating soy milk that had started out as a powder. So the oils in the soybeans in that powder were oxidizing while that product sat on the shelf. The people added water, made their soy milk, so they switched them from reconstituted soy milk,
I don't know if it's locked or not.
powder,
Hold on.
to a soy milk that came ready-made in a box, shelf stable, or in a carton in the refrigerator. And then the problem was gone. And so oxidized oils, I'll talk about the second one here in a little bit. Oxidized oils from products that have the oils at room temperature and exposed to oxygen. That's all those crackers in those boxes. That's all those chips. That's all those pre-made products that have dried oils in them. I mean, we're talking a problem for your coronary arteries. And it causes more calcium in your coronary arteries. What's the mechanism of calcium depositing in your coronary arteries? First, you have high cholesterol. Then you have more inflammation in your blood from the high-fat diet. Remember 2 weeks ago we talked about all the oils people eat, inflammation in their bodies. And then for the mixture of inflammation and cholesterol makes the cholesterol the calcium get deposited with cholesterol in plaque. And then we can measure it on CT scan and we say, well, your calcific coronary artery index is blah, 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 blah. You got too much calcium in your coronary arteries, so we got to fix that, and their fixes aren't that great. What's their fix? You're looking at it there. They're trying to put a stent in somebody's artery. You don't want that. All right, so let's just talk about this inflammation and cholesterol. Inflammation with cholesterol increases problems. It's the oxidized cholesterol from eating ice cream every night for supper. Remember my uncle? And so you get more asthma and lung inflammation. You get more liver damage and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease that we talked about last week. You get prostate inflammation with prostate cancer. You get autoimmune arthritis or inflammatory arthritis like rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis. You get skin cancer because you know how they say the chicken has cholesterol in the skin, and if you skin the chicken and eat it, you get less cholesterol. Well, you're like a chicken. You have cholesterol in your skin. If that cholesterol that went to your skin was oxidized, more skin cancer. If it goes to your colon, more colon cancer, or ulcerative colitis, leading to cancer. It increases breast disease, leading to breast cancer. It increases prostate hyperplasia, leading to prostate cancer. It stimulates bone resorption because inflammation causes osteoporosis. It increases gallstones because the oxidized cholesterol is what makes those stones form. Now, we talked about animal products, we talked about oils. There's other things that will give you problems, and that's fructose. I'm not talking about the bit of fructose in an apple. I'm talking about the fructose in what these ladies are drinking. That's sodas. I'm talking about the fructose in just about anything you can eat that's sweetened. We were looking for, what was it, cranberry sauce the other day in a supermarket. Not for us, but for somebody else. We looked at all the cans, and they were all sweetened with fructose. See, dietary fructose inflames your liver. Remember we mentioned liver inflammation a couple slides ago? So it inflames your liver. We mentioned this a couple weeks ago too, right? Yeah. Okay, 1 week ago when we talked about fatty liver disease. Fructose inflames the liver, causes oxidized LDL, causes a raise in LDL in the total and cholesterol, and it increases your fat around your organs. That fat that's always at a higher temperature that we mentioned last week. Okay, so fructose frustrations. Fructose will oxidize cholesterol in your liver on site, even if you're not eating any cholesterol, okay? This would be true of other things that inflame the liver. How about table sugar? It's half fructose. Oh. All right. So what you want is a diet that's going to fix the problem. People don't eat enough good antioxidants. A low antioxidant intake, in other words, not eating enough fresh fruits and vegetables, is going to leave you with a higher cholesterol and a higher oxidized cholesterol. Now, here's the thing. For two people with the same cholesterol level, oh, is that harking back to the man we started off with? Yes. That's a gentleman with a cholesterol of 140. Let's say two people had a cholesterol of 140. My guy that I told you about that eats pizza and ice cream, and these two ladies who eat salads. Who's going to have the heart attack? The people who eat salads? No. Person who's eat. How about if my cholesterol is 200? Same difference. If my cholesterol is high, but I'm eating lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, my likelihood of a heart attack, especially fatal heart attack, is much lower than if I'm eating pizza and ice cream, yeah, or animal products, okay? So the rest of your diet determines what happens to cholesterol in your body and whether it is dangerous or not. Now, high cholesterol is high cholesterol and it's dangerous no matter what what you're eating. But if you have a familial high cholesterol, which I don't think is unfixable, but anyway, if you have a family history of high cholesterol and yours is high too, likelihood is that you adopted their lifestyle. But anyway, if you have a high familial cholesterol, you want a high antioxidant intake. Lots of fresh fruits and vegetables that are not oxidized themselves, and they're loaded with antioxidants so that they will reverse. They will have free radical scavengers. They will have antioxidants. They will have all kinds of things that will help you not have oxidized cholesterol. And so you want to, what would happen if you increased the numbers of fresh fruits and vegetable servings that you eat each day? This would be a big, good thing. Lots of fresh fruits and vegetables. Compared to vegetarians who eat their fresh fruits and vegetables, users of animal products such as meat, eggs, and dairy, they end up eating a lot more fat. Okay, what happens if I eat more fat? Oh, up goes my cholesterol, right? Well, yeah. 30% higher cholesterol, 42% higher LDL cholesterol. Now, what if I've been eating this bad diet and my heart is all plugged? My coronary arteries are packed with cholesterol. Here's a coronary artery, left main coronary artery pictured there on the left-hand side in the diagram. And on the right-hand side, we have an angiogram of the same with a nearly complete blockage. What do I do about that? What if I'm all plugged up already? How am I going to fix that? Well, Caldwell-Esselstyn and Weimar and Loma Linda have all proven on angiography that blockages in coronary arteries can be completely reversed using changes in diet. Here's before and after picture of a nearly completely blocked coronary artery in an individual who was too sick to go for a surgery. And it completely opened up. What's the optimal diet according to him? Well, the best diet according to Caldwell-Esselstyn is a diet that contains lots of grains, beans, vegetables, fruit, with less than 10 to 15% of calories coming from fat. Low fat diet. When the fat in the bloodstream is low, then the fat starts coming out of the plaque. He goes on to say that this diet minimizes the likelihood of stroke, obesity, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and cancers of the breast, prostate, colon, rectum, uterus, and ovary. Wow. Whoa. Did Medicare ever promise anything like that? Well, it's good to have insurance, I guess, if you're going to fall apart, if you want their attention and care. But how much better to follow this plan? This is better insurance. This is preventative insurance. That's right. So in a study looking at changes in diet and lifestyle, where they went to fresh fruits and vegetables and vegetarian diet, they discovered that all those things in the fresh fruit and vegetables and vegetarian diet had a lot more plant sterols and soy protein and fiber and good nuts and seeds like almonds, and it lowered their cholesterol by 28%. How's that compared to pills? Well, compared to lifestyle interventions, statin drugs offer no cholesterol lowering advantage. That's about how much they lower cholesterol. So which do I want? Lifestyle or the pill? Is there no, I said there's no cholesterol lowering advantage to the pill. Well, I should back up. I overstepped myself. If I take the pill, maybe I can keep going through the golden arches. But as one person observed, if you go through the golden arches, you might be getting close to the pearly gates. What's the pearly gates? Death. Okay, so you don't necessarily want this. And remember, we said it has all these complications of higher risk of cancer, dementia, blah, blah, blah. Okay, right. Higher risk of, well, diabetes. Yeah, that's right. You take cholesterol pills, you get diabetes. Okay, let's talk about how these things benefit. What was it about that diet that made a difference? Well, one is the fiber. You eat more fiber, and you're going to end up with a better outcome. Well, how does the fiber help? Well, when you eat that high-fat meal, it goes down to your stomach, and your stomach tells the liver to put out more cholesterol soap. Then when that cholesterol soap comes into the small intestine with the fat, the fiber will absorb some of the cholesterol soap and some of the fat, and it'll get carried out of the body so that it's gone in your stool. And it's very predictable. For 1 gram of fiber, if it's gar gum, 1 gram of fiber will lower your cholesterol by 1 point. Psyllium, if it's 1 gram of fiber, it'll lower your cholesterol by 1.08 points. If it's oat bran, it'll lower it by a 1.5 per each gram. If it's fruit pectin, it'll be 2.7. So if you want your cholesterol to come down by 50 points, then you'd need about 20 grams of fruit pectin, or about 20 grams. So anyway, you get the idea. And so all this fiber will lower your cholesterol. So really what you're doing is you're sending a fiber chaser after what you ate. Fiber chaser after what I ate. Well, it works, but Really, wouldn't it be better just to eat food that didn't have the fiber removed, food that had the fiber to begin with, food that wasn't that processed? Carrots are an example, high in fiber, high in antioxidants. So not only do they lower your cholesterol, but they help to counteract oxidized cholesterol. It lowers your LDL, lowers your total cholesterol, and it reduces the absorption of cholesterol in your bowels. Another source of good fiber is beans. And these beans, if you eat a couple servings a day, will lower your cholesterol and triglycerides by about 10%. By the same mechanism, just plain charcoal will lower your cholesterol. As an oral supplement, 8 grams of charcoal 3 times a day has been shown to reduce the total cholesterol by as much as 27%. That's as much as a statin drugs. Much better for you. Can I keep eating it ad infinitum? Well, maybe you quit eating the other stuff that raises your cholesterol, and you won't have to eat it ad infinitum. But they're feeding. If you have my wife do a talk on charcoal, you'll find out that they're feeding charcoal to animals with good results. The whole life of the animal. All right. So, how about plant sterols? I mentioned plant sterols. What are plant sterols, or phyto for plant? Phytosterols. Well, so cholesterol is a sterol, but it's a very unstable sterol, and it gets oxidized easily. Phytosterols are sterols too, but they're very stable. You see, the plants have to be out in the sun, in the wind, in the rain, in the hot, in the cold, and the environmental things. And so it's very stable sterols. They don't oxidize. And in your body, when you eat lots of plant sterols, they are absorbed instead of the cholesterol. They're absorbed preferentially to the cholesterol soap. And so they help lower the cholesterol because the cholesterol soap goes out the large intestine, being substituted for plant sterols. And so plant sterols, if you get 2 grams per day, can lower cholesterol by 14 points. That's pretty good. That was better than the fiber. Yeah. I mean, and you can combine the two. In fact, that was what the study was. And so the plant food highest in plant sterols would be, first of all, fatty things like nuts and seeds, and then other things that have some fats like beans and grains, and then last of all, fruits and vegetables. And everything on my list here has been studied in the studies and does make a difference for your cholesterol. So yeah, so vegetables and fruits and so the combined effects of plant sterols, vegetable protein instead of animal protein, fiber, has been shown to lower LDL cholesterol by 29%, and the ratio by 26%. Near maximal reductions have been achieved in 2 weeks. Okay, this is my second point to what Weimar found. Not only did patients come back with cholesterols that were going haywire from eating oxidized oils like in powdered soy milk, but the other problem was people would do a whole week of eating very good, and then they would pig out on the weekend. They would break their diet on the weekend. They would party on the weekend. And when they partied on the weekend, they did it within a week of starting the program. And it takes 2 weeks for your body to decide that it's safe to lower the cholesterol. And so they were constantly triggering the panic attack in the liver that you needed high cholesterol. And so your body is never not looking. You can never cheat on the diet. Otherwise, you got 2 weeks of high cholesterol. Ooh. Ooh. Now let's get back to the whole thing of saturated fat versus monounsaturated or polyunsaturated or natural fats. What's natural fats? Eating the olive instead of olive oil, eating the corn instead of corn oil, eating the avocado instead of avocado oil, eating the natural product as God made it with its other things that you need. Okay. So carry on a little further. Refined oils. Like you made your bread and you put in a 1/4 cup of oil. That oil will be absorbed very quickly at the very beginning of the small intestine because it's not associated with fiber. It's not associated with plant proteins. It's all by itself. It's already highly refined. It'll get absorbed early on. Nothing stops it. Whereas if you eat the corn instead of the corn oil, then it will take a while in the small intestine to extract the fats out of the corn, out of the fiber, out of the protein, and it will get absorbed farther on in the small intestine with a lot less cholesterol soap, more as phospholipids than as cholesterol esters. And so you lower your cholesterol. A study looking at this, replacing saturated fat as found in cheese, calorie for vegetable fat, showed that they could lower cholesterol by 17 points. Don't eat cheese, eat vegetable fat. What's the vegetable fat? Like canola oil. Not that canola oil is good for you, but that's what they used. That was their test oil, I believe. But then when they replaced cheese not with oil, but with nuts, they nearly doubled their cholesterol lowering ability. They lowered it by 33 points. And so if you switch to natural sources of fat, then it gets absorbed much farther on down in the small intestine, more as phospholipids than as cholesterol esters. Now, we could have used cheese, we could have used palm oils, we could have used coconut oils. You see these, any of these saturated fats take more soap, therefore they raise your cholesterol. Is there a benefit of coconut oil over lard? Hard to prove. What percent of lard is saturated fat? Maybe about 60. What percent of coconut oil is saturated fat? In the 80s. So this is not going to benefit your cholesterol. We had one family listen to some person on YouTube touting the great benefits of coconut oil for everything from skin to dementia. They gave it to their grandmother. Her dementia got worse and her cholesterol went off the charts. They called me up. What's the matter with Grandma? What'd you do different? Oh, we added coconut oil. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. No, not a good choice. I mean, it's just another refined product. Eat the coconut with all the fiber. Oh, there you go. That's better. All right, fish or walnuts, because fish is touted as something good, right? Walnuts lower total cholesterol, whereas fish raises total cholesterol. It's a problem. Now let's get into non-dietary things. Let's talk about your schedule. A regular schedule is important. People on an irregular schedule have higher cholesterols. It makes it so the body slows down its digestive process and sucks more cholesterol out of your food. Our irregular schedule raises triglycerides by the same token. It also gives you more visceral fat. A regular schedule lowers cholesterol and raises HDL. Now, people who eat breakfast regularly have significantly lower cholesterol. It's because the later in the day you eat your food, the more prolonged will be the digestion, the more you will have a raise in cholesterol. Anything that slows digestion, anything that makes the digestion longer, such as eating between meals. When you snack on things, it lengthens the time for the digestion and you absorb more cholesterol out of your food. Eating between meals, snacking, reduces HDL as well. Yeah, reduces those trucks that are trying to pick up the trash. Stress is another one that usually slows digestion. It also changes what enzymes your body puts into digestion. It really deranges the whole digestive process, as you might know. You ever notice your stomach has butterflies when you're under stress? Well, okay, psychological stress raises the risk of an elevated cholesterol by 180%. Refined foods. The more refined they are, if it's high sugar foods, those raise your cholesterol. High fat foods, those raise your cholesterol. All of those. So what you really want is good food. Things like garlic and onions, those reduce your cholesterol levels. Those reduce your triglycerides. You can eat more vitamin C foods. And this would be like red cabbage. This would be like what's pictured here with the citrus and kiwi and stone fruit. I mean, if you want a lot of vitamin C, you get strawberries, peppers, chives, red cabbage, broccoli, pineapple, oranges, kale, cauliflower, so forth. Now, somebody decided, somebody was at the University of Hawaii. But anyway, somebody decided to study the traditional Hawaiian diet to see what it would do for cholesterol. It's a diet based on lots of complex carbohydrate, pictured here: pineapple, bananas, you know, pomegranate, mangoes, citrus, and low in fat, 12% of calories. That's very good. Moderate in protein, 11% of calories. This is an ideal diet. Can lower cholesterol by 50 points. So here's your prescription. So if somebody asks you where you got this idea, it's your prescription from your doctor. Doctor's prescription. Here I go. Fly to Hawaii and try some of their diet. Makes sense? I mean, or just save the airfare and go down to your local supermarket and buy the stuff Adam would have eaten. The Bible diet. Isn't that what we've been talking about? Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food, and you eat the plants of the field. This is the key. Back to the Bible diet instead of, what's the opposite of the Bible? Well, yeah, somebody else's diet. You see, we were originally planted in the garden. The Lord planted the garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Well, gardeners get more sunshine. What does sunshine do? It changes cholesterol into vitamin D, or pre-vitamin D. Fresh air, and your cholesterol goes down. That's very good. Water. You know, if you drink more water, you raise your blood level. You dilute out the cholesterol. Your cholesterol comes down. People who exercise. See, we're going through the 8 natural doctors now, right? Diet, exercise. Okay, so exercise. People eating a good diet and having a good exercise program, see their cholesterols improve. People who get moving and get 20 to 30 minutes of good cardiovascular workout 3 times a week, their triglycerides improve, their HDL improves. And then there's mental. Laughter, the best medicine. Laughter may boost HDL by as much as 23%. Oh, 23%. Wow. Well, let's just all go and laugh about that. Oh, right. Then there's spiritual impact on people's cholesterol. Religious observance. They call them weekly attendees at religious services. Have better total cholesterol, triglycerides, and LDLs and HDLs. Well, can you see now how you are not caught with just one option, pharmaceuticals, for lowering your cholesterol? You have options, and some of them are less expensive, yet more valuable for your health and the health of your family and your friends and others. How would you like to manage your cholesterol and risk of heart attack? I had one lady come to me. She was in her 60s. She and her husband were retired. She was a nurse. Her husband was a vascular surgeon. She had tried all the different cholesterol pills, and her cholesterol was still too high. She came to me with a personal consent with her husband. So what do? I'm doomed. I have high cholesterol in my family. Our family dies of heart attacks. What am I going to do? Seems like she'd already had a heart event. It wasn't good. What do? I went through all the things we've talked about in this lecture and sent her on her way. She emailed me a couple months later. My cholesterol is totally down where it should be, and I'm off all statin drugs. Thank you for giving me back my life. Thank you for giving me an option that actually worked. So go low fat. Avoid the soap producers, cooking oils, animal fats, margarines, butter. Eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, whole grains and beans, in preference to refined foods, oxidized foods, and animal protein. Keep a regular schedule, including when eating a good breakfast, skipping supper, and keeping the other meals on time. No eating between meals. Become more active. Walk, run, swim, bike, whatever. Lift weights. Drink more water, or work in your garden, right? Okay, drink more water. Turn your stress over to somebody who can handle it. There's some big shoulders out there. Cast your care upon me, he says, because he cares for you. That's it. So make sure that you do what you need to do to live, because nobody else is going to help you live. Not the fast food restaurants. Nope. Not the packaged food people. Nope. You're going to need to look for your own things to help. And so my website is Northern Lights Health Education. It's there on your screen. If you go to the home page, you'll see our mission statement. If you go the second button, you'll see all about my book, where you can download my book for free, or if you like a hard copy, it's available. You can see written resources is the third link. That's a whole bunch of different articles and written materials. Article for this lecture, the cholesterol story, is on there. Article on oils is on there. Articles on everything. All kinds of things. All right, the fourth button down is online videos. You'll see that I posted the last 2 weeks videos on there, replaced older ones with these newer ones. All right, recipes is the next button. We're trying to add every now and then recipes. And other languages, we've got Spanish and Portuguese and Dutch, soon to have Swahili. We have lots of starts on other languages there. Then there's About Us, Contact Us, Make a Donation, and other links to things that might be interesting. That's on my website. Okay, so I'm going to shut down the PowerPoint. I'm going to shut down the screen share. I'm going to come back to Zoom where I can see you all. All right.
There we go. There we go. You forgot to mention the shorter link to your website.
Oh yeah, shorter link. That would be handy. So instead of Northern Lights Health Education, it's an Adventist thing that you'll recognize from the Three Angels Messages. It's REV for Revelation 1:4 for the 14th chapter .com. REV14.com. And yeah, that's the shortcut.
Okay. Okay. Right, so I'm going to put that in the chat for those who would like to receive and more information on all the various areas you've just listed. They can go there. The shorter the shorter website I think would resonate, rev14.com, and you will arrive at the same place. Okay, and there are loads of information you can get there. I said this earlier on that Dr. Clark and his family did do a lot of research and they put it out there for our benefit. So we need to appreciate the amount of work that is put into it. Some of us, we go to university, we do a research or a paper, and it drains us, and we get a good grade and we feel very happy. They're doing this and it takes 6 to 9 months. Am I getting it right?
Yes,
Correct.
some of these take a long time, even longer, but yeah.
Correct, to put together. So I do hope we appreciate it and we can support this. All right, so for your questions, I would like you to, those in the Zoom, I would like you to raise your virtual hand and we will take you in order. For those who are on YouTube, we have a few questions here on YouTube and we will start off with those. Okay, please ensure that your questions are limited to the presentation at hand so that we don't go off the chart. And we should be finished at the top of the hour. Okay. On YouTube, there are a few questions we have here. And the first I would like to read, it says, can ill-managed stress cause elevated cholesterol in a plant-based diet? And a follow-up
Yeah.
question is, how about exercising and at what level? Like exercising raises the HDL.
Yes. So there's no question, but stress will raise your cholesterol. It's sort of a long chain reaction. What happens is as your stress goes up, your cortisol levels go up. Cortisol makes your blood sugars go up. When your blood sugars go up, your insulin levels go up, and a high insulin will raise your cholesterol, which makes giving people insulin for diabetes a problem because their cholesterols go up. But it's all a long chain reaction. Now, will exercise raise HDL? Yes, it will. And the numbers we mentioned there was aerobic exercise 3 times a week at least. I would say every day, but anyway, for 30 minutes. Also, 20 minutes of weightlifting and resistance training is also very helpful. The numbers are encouraging. They're not dramatic because oftentimes the things you're doing to lower your HDL are coming from the diet. But if you combine diet with the exercise, then the exercise boosts your HDL by another, 10, 15 points.
All right, another question from YouTube, and then we'll go to the Zoom. Another question is there a difference between fructose and high fructose corn syrup? And how does it affect the CHO?
Okay, so your fructose is a molecule, and as a strictly chemical modality, it is the same no matter where it came from. But there's some caveats here. The caveat is this: when you eat fructose in its naturally occurring place, then it's balanced with other what we call glyco or sugar nutrients. And when it's balanced, then it doesn't overwhelm the system so badly. It's also balanced with other nutrients such as vitamins, minerals, plant enzymes, and other things that are very beneficial for you, and especially fiber. When you drink a soda pop with high fructose corn syrup, it's a problem. Now, that said, how do they make high fructose corn syrup? I met a gentleman, Hot Springs, Arkansas. He came up to me afterwards. He says, I have information you need. He says, I am a PhD. I've spent my life in the food processing industry. In my PhD research, developed the grid systems of grid-bound enzymes used to process starches and sugars into fructose. He said, in my research, we would take corn, we would cook it down, we would run it through the grid, and it would come out with lots of fructose. We were able to increase the production of fructose. He says then, when it got into industry, they got the bright idea of continually putting everything that came out the other end, not as fructose, back through the grid. He says when we did that in research, the grid would make other products on second and third passes that were dangerous, that were poisonous, that were not good for you. And so the high fructose corn syrup coming from such a process would not only have high fructose corn syrup, but other toxic products that would be dangerous for you, probably highly oxidized or free radical. And incidentally, anything that's high in fructose is usually processed the same way. Agave, which is considered supposedly healthy, is run through the same grid. I researched this. They make the agave by putting the yucca plant root through a enzyme-bound grid or grid-bound enzymes, and they end up with high fructose. High fructose corn syrup is 55% free fructose. Agave is 95% free fructose. Agave would be much more dangerous for you, for your liver, for your cholesterol, for your risk of diabetes than just high fructose corn syrup. So this is an interesting finding. So there's your thing. So how does it actually work in the body? The biggest problem is it oxidizes cholesterol in your liver, but it also raises cholesterol through the same mechanism as does a high sugar diet through raising insulin. So there you go.
Hmm. Oh, wow. So we have to unlearn a lot of stuff. Is the HFCS does it have traces of mercury in it?
Yes, it has been
Some,
found to have mercury in it. That's for sure. That's one of the findings and one of the worries is mercury in high fructose corn syrup.
wow. Okay, we have some hands raised here, and let's take them in order. Elder Malinga, you can unmute, and let's hear your question or comment.
Thank you. Thank you, and good afternoon again. Doc, the one thing that comes to my mind is the safest thing to do is eat stuff in the natural form.
Amen.
Then one will avoid a lot of these challenges that we have. It's amazing, but I would like to say thank you for revealing some of this information. God bless.
Amen. Praise the Lord. You know, it's a little like sin. God gives all these instructions about how bad sin is. Got all of Leviticus and Deuteronomy, and we have the Ten Commandments and so forth. But the best thing is just not to sin, right?
That's right.
Great.
Okay, wow. All right, next person we have on the list is Mark Abrams. Go ahead.
Hi, Doc. Yeah, thank you, Brother Malinga. I really appreciated what you said there. That's true. I also learned about, well, this 3 weeks has hit one thing home to my mind is the whole food. I had a certain understanding of whole food, but now I actually know what it is. Whole food is just the whole thing. Just eat the fruit or the food in the whole state that it came from the plant, and then you're safe. So that's what I'm also walking away with, brother, and I appreciate what you said. So anyway, Doc, last week I wanted to ask you this question, and Sister said I should post it in the WhatsApp group, but I really felt I wanted to hear your take on it. Not that I didn't trust the group, I just wanted to talk about it. Maybe some more people could get some insight into it. But I learned about the dangers of vinegar, in that vinegar is not a doesn't have a nutritional value. So I stopped putting vinegar in my food like years ago. But now I've seen balsamic vinegar and apple cider vinegar, and people are saying that this lowers cholesterol and it's good for you. But I haven't tried it because the word vinegar is part of the description. So I don't want to put it in my body. So I just wanted you to expand on that and just explain why, if it really is dangerous, if it's not good for you, and should we stay away from it, and if it's really a fast, that it is a healthy food to consume. Food in inverted commas.
Amen. Good question. And that's a perfect question for this topic because, yeah, people think if they eat apple cider vinegar, it will lower their cholesterol. And I tell them, well, why don't you be more natural? Just eat the rotten apples. And the other day, I came to the breakfast table, and I had taken a pineapple off the shelf and put it on the table. Said, oh, we need to cut this thing. It's getting ripe. And then I set the table and I put the pineapple back on the shelf just while we were getting the table set. And I noticed, why do I smell vinegar? What's going on? And so I wiped the table and I'm thinking, and we had taken and made some plant herbicide using vinegar earlier. You take vinegar and well, you can buy vinegar at Tractor Supply, 30%. It'll just plain kill plants. So we're spraying it on poison ivy. I'm thinking, did we get some of our, plant herbicide vinegar here on the table? And I couldn't figure it out. So then we finished eating, and I'm thinking, why was there the vinegar smell here? And then I thought, oh, the pineapple was sitting here. Sure enough, the bottom of the pineapple was rotten. You can make vinegar out of anything. My grandparents, when they were missionaries in Africa, made vinegar out of bananas. I mean, our compost pile turns into vinegar if we don't, keep it turned over. And it's rotten. I mean, how much vinegar did Adam eat? None. How much vinegar did Eve eat? None. How much vinegar was used before sin? None. Sin gave us vinegar. So if vinegar is a great blessing, then we owe a debt of gratitude to sin. And so it's the devil that wants people to eat their vinegar. Now, vinegar's main ingredient is acetic acid. Your body has no use for acetic acid. It can't process it. It takes the liver to remove it out of the body. When the liver has to remove it, then it increases liver damage. When it's in the body, it's an acid. It pulls calcium out of the bones. People using apple cider vinegar get osteoporosis. It's not good. And Ellen White says that more people have died from eating rotten fruit than we know. So it's not a health tonic. It's a death tonic. And the way people eat their rotten fruits and vegetables is through vinegar. So no, I wouldn't be using vinegar. It doesn't matter if they made it from balsamic, from bananas, from pineapple, from compost, whatever. Most of it does come from apples, even the white vinegar, distilled vinegar you buy in the store. And no, it's not good. Does that answer your question?
Thoroughly, Doc. Thoroughly. Thank you so much. I always disagreed, and I had discourses with people about it, and people would fight that this is good, and I always had this question mark. But if vinegar has this stigma about it that it's non-nutritive, why are you putting it in your body? This is vinegar. So anyway, thank you so much, Doc. I wanted to ask you I got loads of questions, but I want to just also expand on this. It's a problem that I have because I love potatoes. I must say, if I look at what you've presented over these past few weeks, there's a lot of stuff that I need to change. And there's a lot of things I'm very happy about that I actually have been doing. So, but one of the things I'm struggling with is the use of an air fryer. You mentioned the last time that we could put something in an air fryer, and I went like, oh, great, I could use an air fryer, because I've also heard some negativity about air fryers. I know microwaves is totally out because of the radiation and all of that, so I don't use microwave. But I love roast potato. I absolutely love it. And I've been using coconut oil with that, so that's now completely gone. But now I want to know, are there safer ways to enjoy something that tastes similar to that by cutting out all the bad stuff, which is the oils, by putting it in the air fryer? And is there a way to kind of improvise on that? Am I making sense? I'm just trying to see how we can enjoy something that's still enjoyable, but it's the healthier way of presenting it. Otherwise, we have to cut it out completely. And I think there's a lot of people that feel the same way I do. I know.
Yes. Right. So the way we make French fries is we cut the potatoes in the usual form, and then we sprinkle it with a combination of good herbal things like dill and garlic salt or celery salt. We make a mixture of good herbs and salt and sprinkle it, and then we roast it till it's just starting to brown on the edges, and then we eat those And yeah, it's an acquired taste because we love our oil, but it does taste good doing it that way.
Okay, so there's no way to actually bring in a substitute for the oil itself.
No, if you put anything that's oily, high in fat, even if it's nut butter or tahini or whatever, it still oxidizes the oils. It still makes trans fat out of them. Heat and oil don't mix well. When you heat something up that's got any kind of fat, you start changing the fats, and they become more dangerous.
Thank you, Doc. You've answered my question. I've settled that in my mind. And here's the last question I want to ask you is, two weeks ago, I did tell you that I have a heart condition and I have to take beta blockers. So do you consult with people online, or, I mean, because I'm in South Africa and I really would like to consult with you on this so you can help me to journey out of having to take the beta blockers, and I also have to lower my blood pressure, but I've realized where else my blood pressure could be spiked because of certain things in my diet. But I really need that hand-holding experience from a doctor like yourself, who believes in a whole food lifestyle. How would I do that? Would we consult together online? How would that work?
Yes, you could email me. That'd probably be a good way. And but what I'm going to end up doing is, besides perhaps asking you a few questions and making you feel more uncomfortable about your lifestyle, is to direct you to the resources on my website, because either watching one of these videos that's been pre-recorded or reading the handout with all the medical references, it'll give you the background you need to manage your own health, because you are your own best doctor. You are the one that knows what you're eating in the closet when nobody's looking and whatever. And also, one of the things I want to just sort of highlight here is, in approaching disease, and maybe sometime we'll have to do a session on this and talk about it. Number one, we're promised that if we follow what we know, then God will bless us. Exodus 15:26, if thou will diligently hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, and do that which is right in his sight, and keep all his commandments and his judgments, he says, I'll put none of these diseases upon you which I brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. So if we follow his good health rules, he promises us health, so we claim that promise. But when we do get some kind of illness, then the next step is not what pill shall I take or what doctor shall I see, but the next step is to ask the question is why. And the why is like this. It's like in 1 Corinthians 11, when it talks about the Lord's Supper, it says we should not partake of the Lord's Supper unworthily. We should examine ourselves. But some have partaken of it unworthily, and therefore they're guilty of the body and blood of Jesus Christ. For this reason, people are weak, and they're sickly, and they're dying. It's like, whoa. So that means every disease is a call to self-examination. Every disease, I need to ask myself, why did God let this happen? Or is it my fault? Or is it because of some people, Jesus said, go and sin no more unless the worst thing happened? Maybe it's sin. Some people, they need to change their lifestyle. Oh yeah, I keep eating pork. I keep, getting heart disease, whatever. And each thing, there's physical, mental, spiritual, all these different areas to look at and ask the Lord, search me, O God, know me. What are you trying to? Ellen White had a deal with God that if she would get proud, she should be sick. I don't know if every time she got sick was an indication that she was proud, but she got sick a lot. Elisha died of some lingering illness, even though he had been instrumental in Naaman's healing. So we have to ask God, why do I have heart disease? Why am I on a beta blocker? Why is this happening to me? And people come up with interesting answers. And I think that's where a best place to start at is, because when the people got bit by snakes in the wilderness, we could start applying antivenom. But maybe they needed to figure out the reason they got bit by snakes is because they were murmuring and complaining. And the solution wasn't antivenom. It was look at Jesus represented by a snake on the pole. So first step in disease approach is why, what's that, ascertain the cause. Anyway, that's a topic for a whole nother lecture.
Thank you, Doc. God bless you. I learned so much. Thank you very much.
Praise the Lord. God bless you too.
Thank you. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And the last person who will ask a question will be Sarah. And it seems as if a lot of people are coming from this region. Sarah, thank you. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Doc. Good to be here. I would like to ask, we do have sugarcane, and so I'm just fascinated because I love sugarcane. When I do go to KZN, I do love sugarcane, or when I visit my neighboring countries, I love sugarcane. So sugarcane, eating it direct, is it good? Is it thumbs up? Is it thumbs down? Secondly, I'm asking now for my friend and neighbor whom I'm working with in a journey of so many other ailments, including cholesterol. Um, so we were excited a few months ago when the doctors took her off blood pressure meds, cholesterol meds, and I can't remember the third one. Yeah. So we're excited. But recently, the same doctor has put her back into the meds, and she's not plant-based, but she's trying. I make her meals, 2 meals per week, and so she is trying. She is not plant-based fully. She went on plant-based for some time, and then yeah, it hasn't sunk yet. But now that the doctor has put her back into meds, there is also one med that is causing her to urinate much more. And in that, then the doctor has said she must not drink much water. But the problem is the side effects of the medicine. And so in that, I just want to know how I should walk this journey with this person who wants truly to get out of meds. But obviously, there is this pharmaceutical meds, or the doctor who is gone to school for 12, 15 years will then come and say, don't drink water, and the patient will listen to. And so how else can I motivate this person, Doc? Those are
Right.
my two questions. Thank you.
Okay. So, sugar cane, I don't use it in my diet. Some things are too high in sugar, so I'm very careful about not eating too many dates. I mean, not using too much honey, but sugar cane. So in America, it was Jesuits that brought sugar cane first to America, and America seems to have the sweetest food these days. My personal experience with sugar cane was living on a sugar cane farm for a while and seeing all the poisons they sprayed on it and all the mold that grew on its bases when it got over 6 feet tall. And so it's probably not a great choice. Kids who eat sugar cane all day end up with teeth problems. And yes, we love our sugar, but it isn't necessarily loving us. A lot of the modern sugar cane is genetically modified too. So that's a huge interesting caveat. As far as your friend has her cholesterol and high blood pressure, I would refer you to all the different things on my website related to those different topics. You can have her rewatch this video from the YouTube channel. And also, there is a handout for this lecture. If you want the whole thing on drugs, if you go to my website under written resources that I mentioned when I pulled the picture up of my website, that there's one called drug medication, and then a dash, it says sound the fourth angel. And you'll get our position from inspiration on how to, whether we should use drugs or not. And so that'll give you a lot of research to put into your interaction with this person. But so on my, either from videos or written materials on my website, you'll be able to cover high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and any other diseases that she has that are associated with it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, thank you everyone for your participation. Thank you, Dr. Clark, for your wonderful presentation. And I know it takes a lot of research for you and your family to put all the information together and present, in just an hour.
Can I make
or
one
an hour
statement?
and a half. So one moment, one moment. And we are appreciative of that for all persons who made it here in spite of the time of day in your neck of the woods. We're happy that you came here and that we will use information received wisely. Okay, Brother David, you will make your statement and then you will close us with a word of prayer. Thank you.
Okay, yes. One of the things I was agreeing with the doctor is that he was saying that one of the things that bring diseases upon us is with not listening to what God says. And one of the things is that do not take communion if you are unworthy. And now I have seen Adventist churches been saying that they're not they allow people to just take the communion, in other words. So they say we practice open communion. That's the phrase. So I don't know. That sounds like what that doctor was saying is true to me. And that's the little statement I want to make. We practice open communion now, and so many people get sick, even if they eat or drink correctly. That's my statement.
Cholesterol, not communion. Okay, Brother David, you can close us with a word of prayer. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, again, we do thank you for another wonderful day. We all are above ground, and we thank you for all the comments, all the lessons we've learned in what was taught today by eating whole foods. And help us, Lord, I know not to just listen, but to practice what we've heard. Thank you so much for your loving care for us. Thank you for all that you've done for us. And as a matter of fact, Lord, I thank you that we are some missionaries that are able and they are preparing themselves to go to Suriname. Lord, please allow it to be successful, because I know what we're trying to do. We really trying to work till you come. And I pray for everybody in this group that everything goes well and help us to practice what we preach. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Hey.